Welcome to Wake Up to Revelation. We're going through the book of Revelation verse by verse because it is so incredibly important you understand why this book was written, why this revelation was given, who it was given to, and who it was given for. It was given by God to Jesus to give to you, his servants, so we can know what things are about to take place. Well, why would we know? We need to know what's about to take place. Well, so we can know what we should be doing. That's why. And as we've gone through this book, we just hit the introduction and finished it, but there's this moment in time where really what this book is written about is declared even in the beginning, and we're going to kind of dig through that a little bit right now. So we're going to pick it up there in Revelation 1, starting verse 7. Behold, he is coming with clouds, and every eye will see him, and they also who pierced him, and all the tribes of the earth will mourn because of him. Even so, amen. All right, so I'm going to pick it up there because here what you have is you have this moment in time that is what this is written about. Like this whole book, not just Revelation, but the entire Bible was written about the advancement of his kingdom here on earth. And this is the declaration that he's coming. He's coming. And not only is he coming, he's coming with clouds, and every eye will see him, and they also who pierced him. And we talked about how he comes through the clouds. Like that's the thing, is he even said in Matthew 24, you know, when they say, look in the desert, there's the Christ, don't believe him. When they say, look in the inner room, there he is, because that's where the abomination of the Antichrist will take place. Don't believe him, because he comes from the clouds. Just like in Acts, when he went up into the clouds and those two angels said, why are you looking up in the sky? The same way he left, that's the same way he's coming back. But it goes on to say this, which is very critical. And all the tribes of the earth will mourn because of him, even so. Now, why would they mourn? Well, here's why they mourn. Let's just kind of give you this picture of what it looks like when he comes back. What you have is you would have 3.5 years of tribulation. You would have had this moment in time where the Antichrist declares himself to be God, and from that moment, tribulation begins. For 3.5 years, as spoken by the prophet Daniel. Shortly before that 3.5 years is over, the warring of the saints, 3.5-year war going on, and we have great success as the saints against the Antichrist and the world army. Even where it says who can prevail, we do pretty good in this war, according to this book. But near the end, that's when the wrath of God starts to rain down on the earth, and it gets dark. And there's consequences. A third of the earth dies, is killed. A third of the earth is killed again. It continues to be dark. And then, then tribulation ends. And then it continues to be dark for an additional 45 days, according to the last verse in Daniel, last few verses in Daniel. Then he breaks through in the clouds of glory. So what you have on the earth in this moment is you have most of the remnant, most of the saints will be dead at this point. The Antichrist will be ruling. They'll be warring against those things that come out of the Euphrates River. Again, we'll get into all this stuff as we talk about Revelation. But there's all sorts of crazy stuff going on, and it's dark the whole, near the end. And all these people, they begin to celebrate when the War of the Saints is over, they celebrate. They actually exchange gifts as if it's Christmas time. When we're all dead, they celebrate. So when Christ returns, there's the remnant still there. There's a few of us still there. I'm hoping to be one of those people left alive in that moment. That's my goal. Should be your goal too. If I'm alive when Christ returns, most of humanity in that moment would have been part of the beast system. That's why they're going to mourn, because they're going to realize in that moment they were wrong, and it has eternal consequences. As soon as they see the clouds of glory break open, all the earth knows, because it's one thing to point towards the inner room and say, look, there's the Christ, and most of the world will be like, oh wow, that is the Christ. But I won't, and hopefully you won't, and there'll be a few of us who'll be like, that is not Jesus. Like, that is not the Christ. I don't know what that is, but that is not the Christ. That's some sort of gross politician. But when he comes, the whole world will know. Some will think he's the Christ when the Antichrist declares himself to be God. But everyone will know that that is the Christ coming in the clouds of glory. They all will know and they all will mourn. And Jesus himself said it would be so. If we go to Matthew 24, where the disciples are asking Jesus about the end times, he says this in verse 29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from heaven and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. That's why they are mourning. They're mourning because Judgment Day is coming. And Judgment Day isn't pretty. And there's 2 Judgment Days, by the way. This is just judgment of those who are alive when he returns. Most of humanity from Adam until now is dead. So the dead will be judged later. But Judgment Day, when Christ returns, is the judgment of those who are alive on this earth in that moment. And it's not pretty for most, because what it says after his return in 19, it says this in 17. Then I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the birds that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather together for the supper of the great God, that you may eat the flesh of kings, the flesh of captains, the flesh of mighty men, the flesh of horses, and of those who sit on them, and the flesh of all people, free and slave, both small and great. Not very pretty. It's important to be on the right side of things. It may seem good to be on the side of the Antichrist for a little while we're all outlaws and you're all enjoying the world. But there will be a day. Behold, he is coming with clouds, and every eye will see him, and they also who pierced him. And all the tribes of the earth will mourn because of him, even so. Amen. Amen. Well, there you go. We're just going to keep on digging. But this is a declaration of really what this is about. Behold, he is coming. He is coming. It's very important that I'm going to recommend even now you take some time to just make sure your heart is on the right side of things. When Jesus looks at us and either says, I know you, welcome, or he says, I don't know you. He knows you. Be very clear. He knew every hair on your head before you were even born. What he means by he doesn't know you is he's intimate with the Spirit. And if the Spirit doesn't dwell within, he knows that. Like he knows that Spirit isn't in there. See, you can fool man. You could sit there and you could act like you're a spiritual person. You can act like a Christian and check all the boxes, whatever you say, to look the right way. And that'll fool most people. You can always judge a tree by its fruits, but even deceitful people can produce some good fruit. But Jesus will know, because he's intimate with the Spirit. It's either there or it's not. And if it's not there, he doesn't know you. He doesn't know you.